Not a good scene at Independence Center Mall on Friday where multiple people were shot in a spat between two groups, one person in critical condition. Here to talk about it and more, recently retired Independence Councilman and candidate for state rep, Mike Steinmeyer, is on KCMO Talk Radio. Mike, you know Independence, obviously, as well as anybody. When this happened on Friday, what were your first thoughts?
Well, there was so much action going on out there, Pete, that there was a lot of confusion around it. But it's something that unfortunately we've encountered too many times out there. So, yeah, not a big surprise at this point.
Well, that's where I was going with this, because you're right. Unfortunately, things of this nature have taken place, it seems like, time and time again. What has Independence done, if anything, to try to mitigate and prevent some of these things from taking place, and what more can they do as a city?
Yeah, I think as a city, we're a public entity working with a private company, so we're limited, but we've worked with them in every way to try to beef up security and keep the public safe. But you have to have a willingness on the side of the mall ownership or management group to do it in a way that it brings safety to the forefront. And they said they've purchased cameras. We'll see how useful all that happens. But they've had security problems when they removed the police department out of the mall. They used to hire officers as their security, and they a couple of years ago made the decision to go a different direction.
Okay, maybe we can get your killer dog on scene over there. That might help.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
she's
fine.
upset about the whole thing.
I understand why she's upset. Yeah. She's got a right to be upset. Okay, so you're saying the mall itself used to have hired, was it rent-a-cops or like real armed officers?
No, they used to employ our police officers.
Off duty.
Off duty, but they deemed it to be too expensive. So they went a different route and spent money on cameras, and they've had some turnover with their security management, and it's been a problem. But the PD can only do what they're allowed to do.
Yeah. So ultimately, you're saying that it falls on the mall. So the mall, I mean, if the mall ends up finding itself in a position where customers are down, business is down. Sometimes you got to spend money to make money. And if spending money on off-duty cops keeps everyone feeling safe and gets more business to the mall, that would seem like a good investment, Mike, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people in this town who are not going to be going to that mall this holiday season because of this headline in the story.
And that's the downfall. That's the pain point. So I think PD will engage back with the mall ownership and try to get officers back in if we're going to be able to, in fact, salvage the Independence Center, which is going to be the big question. And I think the city will be as proactive on that as they can. Again, the public safety is first and foremost when we talk about our seniors who like to walk out there, and what does that mean to their safety? Holiday shoppers, what does that mean to their safety? We'll see what their response is. But also, Pete, we have to, as a society, to ask the question, what can we do? We've got groups now that just thinking that if you look at me wrong, I'm going to pull out a weapon and use it, because we've created a society where we have judges and prosecutors that have been soft on this type of crime, and there's no real punishment. So the police get blamed for a lot of this, when in fact it's our judicial system that has created and permeated this type of action and attitude.
So safe to say, Mike Steinmeyer, former Independence Councilman, that you would disagree with Mayor Quentin Lucas, who tweeted out on Friday, hours after the shooting, "Are we ready to admit it's the easy accessibility of guns, or will we blame every cable news talking point about urban cities, which this is not, that we can?"
I do disagree with that. I think that the message has been sent to a generation that says that if you commit these types of crimes, there's not a real punishment lined up for you. And we have to get judges and prosecutors who are going to be tough on crime, and there's going to be real consequences for it. And until we do that, this is going to be a continuation of our norm, and people can change that by voting. I mean, you got to vote these judges out. You got to vote these prosecutors out that are trying to convince you that being soft on crime makes you and I safer. That's just not the way it is.
Do you feel like Mike Steinmeyer, the Independent Center, as you put it earlier, is salvageable?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, it depends on, will the shoppers return? They're charting a course that I think that is going to be detrimental to the future of the mall if they don't make drastic changes.
Do you know, and out of curiosity, Mike, when you were on the council, what the if there were issues vacancy-wise there and what those looked like, and if they had gotten worse the last few years?
Well, I mean, we had talked about it several times. Every time there was an incident, we would talk about it, and we all agreed that being tough with the mall management and ownership was something the city needed to do, and we did to the degree that we were allowed to. We got in there, we had meetings, we talked, we met with the mall ownership group, but again, they chose a different path, and so we've seen now another incident, and then we see another one. So the two indoor malls that we have in this area have suffered from two shootings.
Yeah.
So, the responses were totally different. This wasn't an active shooter. Let's keep that in mind. And I think Mayor Lucas is wrong to the understanding that this is something that is plaguing our nation. It wasn't an active shooter. They knew each other, and they exchanged words and pulled out a weapon.
Yeah.
And they did it because they feel like they can.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Mike Steinmeyer, former independent city councilman. He's running for state representative on KCMO. Thank you for being here, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.